Hello again, friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to your Sunday's Talking Town. I am your host, the Governor. Looking forward to hearing what you're going to say. Obviously, a disappointing result yesterday, a 4-1 home defeat to Tottenham Hotspur. Didn't feel like it should have been a 4-1 defeat, but that was the end scoreline, and we want to hear from you, whether watching live or on catch-up. If you're on catch-up, FTA, comment for that algorithm. But if you're live, please do get active in our live chat, whether watching on YouTube or X. Welcome, X viewers. And give your thoughts, your opinions, what you saw, what you thought. Was that sort of almost the end for Town yesterday? I've seen a lot of that sort of conversation floating around on socials, on Discord. Or is there a lot more twists and turns yet to come? The conversation in our live chat before we started is already about who may be leaving in the summer. That for me feels a little bit premature, but how do you feel? Mike D said, don't really watch Match of the Day, but wanted to see the offside and the near misses. I agree with Murphy. Defence is abysmal. Last year it was too, but we were able to score goals to get us out of the mud defensively yesterday. Again, not the greatest. Even Parry, I still think we need to remember as a club, we had players who have never played Premier League, and if they had only a couple of games, most other Premier League teams loan them players out or drip feed them in, which we can't. Lots of comments coming in. Please do keep them flying, and we'll try and build the show around you. That's what we do here at Talking Town. But don't forget, we are partnered with the East Anglian Air Ambulance. If you want to help save lives and have the chance to win £1,000 every week, and let's be honest, who doesn't want to say yes to both those questions? Play the East Anglian Air Ambulance Lottery. By playing for just £1 each week, you're helping to keep their yellow helicopters flying. The East Anglian Air Ambulance Lottery creates 18 winners every week, from prizes ranging from £50 to £1,000. Over 18s, prize range every week from £50 to £1,000. Apologies. Over 18s only. T's and C's apply. Please gamble responsibly. Link is in our description. Joining me on this journey is Matthew Phillips. Good afternoon, Matt. Are we well?
I'm good, thanks. We was a little bit late today, everybody, because I told Martin I cooked a full English, and he was telling me off for putting avocado on instead of black pudding.
That is as criminal as our defending yesterday. It really, truly is. That is awful. No black pudding and avocado. You need to sit yourself on the naughty step. That's terrible.
Yeah. Okay. You'll have to give me some how to cook black pudding tips in Talking Cooking coming this summer, everybody.
How old are you, man? How old are you?
We're not going there, Martin.
Oh, wait, all right. Let's be kind, right? You're mid-30s.
Yes.
Yeah, I said I'd be kind. You don't know how to cook black pudding. Come on.
No.
Have you had anything called Google?
Yeah. Well, to caveat this, I haven't actually got any black pudding in the house either, so it wasn't a menu option. But I'll have a look in the future. I just thought avocado is a better. Yeah, I just thought avocado is good fats.
Yesterday wasn't depressing enough, Matt. You've depressed me all over again.
Sorry.
But
Sorry,
let's open the box of yesterday. Let's unpack it. Where do you want to start? As Cody Rhodes said in WWE, what do you want to talk about? Where do you want to start, Matt? Should we go first?
Well, let's start with a positive, shall we? At the very start of the game, the first 5 or 6 minutes, Ipswich was on fire. Looked really good.
Certainly looked really good. Fast. Yeah, fast start Ipswich.
Yeah. Within the first sort of 6 minutes, even straight from the kickoff, you've got that kind of scramble on the goal line, haven't you? That from the Delap shot that was eventually ruled offside. It did cross the line, didn't it? I'm pretty certain it did.
I haven't seen it back. Don't know.
You didn't see it back.
My angle, I couldn't tell live.
Yeah, I think he did cross the line, but it was ruled offside. And then minutes later, you've got the Delap breakaway, and he just slots it wide, doesn't he? And then, I don't know, a minute or two later, the Phillips free kick over into the box, the lap glancing header hits the post. I mean, it just sort of, you talk about the fine margins of football in general, but certainly in the Premier League, any number of those 3 chances could have gone for us, and they don't. And there we have it. I mean, we can rule out the following 84 minutes pretty much. I mean, we got given a bit of a footballing lesson after that, didn't we? But
Did we?
And I think so. In the attack, you're certainly in attacking third. I mean, Son versus Godfrey. I mean, it was elite player versus, I don't know. I feel sorry for Godfrey a little bit. I felt like he was made a scapegoat, really, at half time. Certainly, if you watch back on Match of the Day, where Danny Murphy quite rightfully says Leafs defending was woeful, but he stays on the pitch because he gives you that attacking presence down the left side at 2-1. So Godfrey gets hauled by McKenna at half time, and everyone thinks he's rubbish, useless. In fact, his play for England is now forgotten about. But again, as we said, I think we said on the full-time show yesterday, it was a bit of a daze, that, wasn't it? Just trying to get through that show. We somehow did half hour. Godfrey had the toughest assignment of the day, having to mark Son, world-class elite player. And he had to do that against Doku as well, against Manchester City. So he's, you talk about baptisms of fire when we first come into the Premier League. I mean, and as you keep saying, Martin, like, he swapped the Atalanta bench from what majority of his time has been the Ipswich bench, but then gets thrown in without too much cover against elite world-class players. And we said, when we did the preview show Wednesday, we wanted Godfrey to come in instead of Axel, and we both was in agreement that to play Johnson, because that tactic could work so well at Tottenham. Yeah, you've got Philogene on the right-hand side, who I thought did all right, quite frankly. I mean, I've been a bit critical of him in terms of body language and what he brings to the table, and he wasn't very good against Southampton, I don't think, when he came off the bench. But I thought I think he'd done all right yesterday. But certainly it's a bit of a head-scratcher to me why they targeted Son in the away game there with two players in Tuanzebe and Johnson. Yet they got Godfrey completely alone with him. And he closed.
You're giving me a lot there to unpack, and you're right. A fast start is what we wanted and what we got, and we really got after Tottenham in that first 10-15 minutes, and we made life really difficult. We gave them no time on the ball to settle, and we created some chances, and Delap ghosted past Gray like he wasn't there for one of those opportunities, and then we didn't really sort of was able to really get at Archie Gray again for the rest of the game, which obviously was a disappointment, because in that first 5-10 minutes, Delap particularly was bullying the centre halves for Tottenham. It is fine margins. Ball drops into the net, one or two. It's a different mentality. It's a different game. The flow, the energy, the crowd, but it didn't happen. And then we allowed Tottenham to put their foot on the ball, as you would expect, and really sort of build themselves into the game. In terms of the Godfrey situation, which you mentioned, that for me is it's a poor game plan. Really poor game plan. It almost feels like a mentality of, we're at home, we're going to get on the aggressive front foot, whereas when you're away, maybe you expect to be the team compact and having to deal with it in a different way. But to ask Ben Godfrey, who, let's be honest, has not played a lot of minutes for Ipswich Town Football Club, and I don't know how many minutes he even played for Atalanta, but he's not played a lot of minutes for Ipswich Town Football Club, to say to him, your assignment today is 1v1 against Son. That's not a game plan. Whoever walked into the office during the week and said, I've got a great idea, Kieran, hear me out on this one. We should go 1v1 against Son with Ben Godfrey. No, that's not a plan that you should have implemented, because you saw it, only twice. He needed two opportunities, and we're being, critical of not necessarily Ben Godfrey, but the plan, etc. But defensively, again, we're poor. That first goal, you've got O'Shea and Godfrey around Son. Neither gets a foot in for a tackle. He goes past both. Davis is caught a little bit ball watching. He's another reason why I would play a three at the back. Gives him that extra protection, limits the defensive responsibilities of Leif Davis, which we've seen this year has been, not perhaps Premier League standard quite yet. To go 4-2-3-1 for me, it's aggressive. It's front foot. It's Ipswich Town under Kieran McKenna. But this isn't the Championship. This isn't League One, and it just felt a little bit, not the game plan you should implement for me, Matt. Really.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. And then you can draw the line back now to Ipswich having achieved too much success under McKenna too quickly. And he is a rookie manager. I mean, look, he's in his third full season with us as a manager. And I look before we come on air. You look at someone like Alex Ferguson. His third full season in football management was with St Mirren. This is before he's even got to Aberdeen, where he makes his name as a boss. And Neil Warnock, 1,000+ games, was in the non-league in his first full season with Burton Albion. And here we have Kieran, who's achieved so much for the club and put us back on the map and got us back to where we wanted to. And he's out of his depth, basically. That's not me saying Kieran's a rubbish manager, far from it. But he's out of his depth. And we probably are where we should be, with a manager who's only in his third full season, and it happens to be in the Premier League. So,
and a squad. They're all learning on the job together, and you're only going to get better with task, time on task. But there's just little bits of elements of it where, as a staff, because it isn't just Kieran, it's a staff. They're a coaching group, and they'll discuss game plans and strategies and how we're going to approach different things. Just as a staff, obviously, for me, I would have said no. I would have said not a chance. I'm leaving my fullback 1v1. It was foolish, and it proved it yesterday, Matt. And defensively, you can nitpick. Even for the third, I know we get a footing in the end. It comes off Wolfie, but again, we're not putting those. As I said, I think it was Liverpool. We're getting bodies around the ball, but we're not really defensively good enough doing, in terms of getting close to a man, stopping him down the byline, stopping him coming inside. And the fourth goal shows it as well. All he wants to do is come inside on that left foot. From the moment he picks the ball up, you can see it. And what do? We show him on the left foot. We just say, come on inside. No, you've got to show him the other way. You've got to show him onto his right where he doesn't want to go. And that's sort of our defensive display most of the season, really. It's just a little bit naive at times.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Mike D said it earlier there about being defensive. I mean, look, Danny Murphy said exactly what you said there, Mike. And same as what Mike D said, we're defensively woeful. We've nearly conceded as many goals in 26 games as we did in 46 in the Championship last season. I think in the last 10 games, we've conceded 4+ goals in nearly half those games, in 40% of those games, which just shows you our limitations in that area. But we've always said, haven't we, really, even back to League One, where I think we only let in 35, 40 goals, I think, in League One. We used to say, sometimes you didn't have to work too hard to score against Town. We just happened to have the attacking threat, didn't we? What was it, 101 goals in League One, 90 something in the Championship, and we're not even scoring a goal a game at this level, which shows you that we're, if Kieran's out of his depth, then, as you said earlier, the whole squad is really.
But I disagree on that. I did disagree on 2 points you made. That one there, Kieran McKenna out of his depth. I disagree on that. You can be wrong, but not out of your depth. And not everyone gets it right 100% of the time. And you can't be expected to get it right 100% of the time. And you are right, in the Championship and League One, we had defensive frailties. But that was the mindset, that the ethos, wasn't it? We're front foot, we're aggressive, we play to win. That's the that's the no risk it, no biscuit. That's the if you don't risk it, you can play it safe. You're not going to get those opportunities, create those chances. And it didn't feel like a 4-1 defeat yesterday. And I know you said we were taught a footballing lesson, and I couldn't disagree more with that. I don't think we were. That's why it's so difficult last night in the post game today, because I'm sitting here sort of discussing a 4-1 defeat, but it really feels like for a large portion, a large majority of the game, we were bang in it, right in it. 2-1. You felt like Town could go on and get that equaliser. I've always felt 3 goals this year is a stretch, but it really felt like we were in it, man. I disagree that we were taught a footballing lesson. The scoreline says we were, but I've really come away thinking we were in it. We were in it for a large portion.
It depends how you're interpreting footballing lesson. Our defensive frailties were exposed massively by world-class players. That's kind of what I'm saying there, really. Yeah, I mean, we were in it. We were in it. Exactly. We were in it at sort of that at 2-1. I mean, again, the fine margins, everyone goes ecstatic, don't they, when Wolfie scores the far post header. As it turned out, 4 players were offside.
Yeah, great ball by Murray, though.
It was.
By Murray.
Yeah,
really
yeah. It was. It's interesting, you don't think McKenna's out of his depth. So in his third full season as a manager in the Premier League, and, we had people coming on this show at the start of the season saying we're going to finish in Europe.
We did.
I mean, as I've said before, there's nothing wrong with being optimistic about your side on the back of back-to-back promotions. No. But I mean, he's just been tactically, he's been all over the shop, though, Martin, hasn't he? I mean, you go from one extreme to the other. See, Spurs yesterday, we were too probably buccaneer in our approach against them and left ourselves exposed defensively. And then he goes to Arsenal, where we don't even cross the halfway line, as you rightly said. Opta had to introduce a new stat I hadn't even seen in 20 odd years of Opta.
The Ipswich stat.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, that's only in the space of, that's inside those last 10 games I've been talking about there. So really, and he makes so many changes game to game. I know we've had lots of injuries, but pretty much it averages 4 to 5 per match.
Yeah.
So he's never really had a settled starting 11. And I don't think he's really ever had any settled tactics, really. I mean, like I say, against Arsenal, they shore up the shop. Against Chelsea, it worked well in that 2-0 win. Still had that, your 3 centre-backs going to a 5 in when they had the ball. And we allowed them to have the ball a lot, but counter-attacked brilliantly in that. And then yesterday, we were back to that kind of Man United, Newcastle, where we get done on the flanks.
Yeah.
Not learned, have they?
No, this is it. No, sometimes, that yesterday was obviously not learning from previous lessons, but I can also, while I say it wasn't a good plan, and it in hindsight, and it's not just hindsight. If you told me before the game that's the game plan, what do you think? I'd have said, not a cat and hell's chance. That should be the game plan. But I can also say, fair play for taking the game to Tottenham, being the home team, sticking to your principles that have got you there, all those different things. But and you know what? Every player wants their manager to have a big belief in them, and that's a huge belief in Ben Godfrey from Kieran McKenna that he's shown there, that you can do that. We believe in you. We trusted you to go 1v1 and contain a world-class player. I know yesterday on the post-game show, many people were saying, "Oh, he's not the son of old." Well, I wish I'd seen the son of old then, because yesterday he was unplayable, as I think Ange.
Well, he used to dovetail with Kane, didn't he? I mean, you've taken that part of his armoury away, haven't you? I mean, that made him even better, I think. They came as a two, didn't they? Pretty much. So
wait till the laps there next year.
Yeah. Well, he certainly hasn't got Solanke in the mix, or Tino Werner, or any of those. But yeah, I mean, look, you'd love him in our side, wouldn't you? I mean, he's just world class. But I just find it baffling, just to go back to the point, that they tactically had that spot on at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium back in November, only to, I don't know. Yeah. You keep hearing McKenna and Ashton talking about trust the process, but sometimes the process is a bucket with a hole in the bottom. You know, you've got to be a little bit more flexible. I mean, I just don't get how they could have been so tactically astute away from home against the same opposition, yet exposed dramatically at Portman Road.
Yeah. Paul says our whole season in a nutshell today, don't get enough chances, don't take enough of the ones we do make, and give away sloppy goals. Only one way that ends, unfortunately. Matt Bailey McKenna is still learning to the players. We are ahead of the curve. Okay, we go down, but personally believe we will bounce back with a stronger squad than before. Good point. We'll come to that obviously a bit later on. We've got some Discord conversations or questions or comments to bring up that we're offering the chance for Discord users. I tell you what a real positive was for me yesterday.
Yep.
Midfield 2. Calvin Phillips and Jens Kajus. And just as we seem to have found the midfield 2 potentially, they both go off injured. That's a big negative.
Yeah.
I was really, really, impressed. And obviously we don't know the fitness of Sam Moore, so he did come on in the end. But I thought it was a big call by the manager to stick with Phillips and Kajus and have your skipper on the bench. Obviously, I don't know the full fitness situation of Sam, but that's a big call. And I really enjoyed watching Jens and Kelvin yesterday. I really felt Kajus had one of his best games in a Town shirt. He was going forwards as opposed to sideways.
He watched the show Wednesday, clearly.
And he was showing great ball control, great ability in getting forward and being that box-to-box midfield player. And I really thought Calvin Phillips yesterday was really up for it. And some of the times in that second half watching him, if it was a 70-30 ball, Matt, he was doing everything in his power to make that 30 in his favour. Because he was almost everywhere. It was a sad scene to see him go off injured. I thought that was one of his better games. But how did you see the midfield too? Because I was really happy with them too. And it's a big blow to see them both go off.
Yeah, it is a big blow. It is a big blow. Yeah, and I thought they did well. Certainly, you saw Kajus getting further forward. We see he was like Donatian, getting nosebleed moving forward. He's had like 4 shots all season. He started a majority of the games. But look, straight from the kickoff where Godfrey plays the little pass to Philogene, he puts that ball into Kajus, and that's the beauty of Kajus, isn't it? He's gone. He's away, and he puts in Delap, and we're very unlucky not to take the lead. So yes, I thought he did very well. Look, Phillips helps to make the goal, doesn't he? I think it's Danzo that he dispossesses, passes it out to Clark. Clark gets the assist for Amari's goal. So that started with Calvin. So there was flashes of really good play. I will say that Calvin is a little bit culpable for me on the second goal, in that you see Kajus busting the gut to get back in around the penalty spot, and Calvin is jogging back as you look at the camera from the Churchman's end. It's only until he realises Son's going to pass the ball across the box, which is too late, that he actually starts trying to break into the box. He could have filled that space for me. But that, look, it's not all on Calvin, that goal. But I'm not going to judge that goal on his performance. But yes, I thought they did very well yesterday, the two. And now they're both going to be injured pretty much.
Yeah, it's sad to say, isn't it? It's Town luck this year, which we haven't had any of it. As you potentially find your midfield two that work well together, and you release Jens to get forward. Because we've been saying on the show, haven't we, for several weeks, that we don't really often see him being that box to box. He's more a player that shuttles across the field. And
I'm surprised. I am surprised by that. I mean, even if you look at some of his career earlier in his career when he was playing back in Scandinavia and stuff, he scores some worldy goals. Even when he was playing in France, I think he gets a decent strike. We ain't seen none of that, have we? But yesterday, right from the kickoff, he's across the halfway line and puts the lap in. So I'd like to see more of that, really. But I don't know. It'd be interesting to see who the midfield pairing is going to be at Old Trafford Wednesday, because like you say, I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be those two. What I like about Calvin, if he was still in the stadium yesterday, was that he was the last player to leave the pitch yesterday. He certainly doesn't act like a lone player. He actually acts like he's a fully fledged Ipswich Town player, and he was going across the box in front of the North Stand, clapping everybody, even hobbling with a calf injury. Probably wanted to get back into the dressing room and onto the treatment table. I think that spoke volumes. And I think that actually speaks volumes as to why they got him in the first place, as we've said before. The criteria of a McKenna player is that you've got to be a good character as well. And the fact he did that yesterday, he didn't go unnoticed by me. I thought that was quality.
Yeah, I thought yesterday one of his better games in a Town shirt, and like I say, particularly that second half, the desire to try and win everything, whether the percentages were for him or not, just showed me so much about what you've just said there. Really, the man and what you know, he's more than just a lone player, if you like. It's more than just
great ball into the box for the lap header that goes against the post. I mean, we talk about set piece delivery. I mean, we haven't got any goals from free kicks this season, have we? But that was very close. Great ball in.
I nearly finally got one. I nearly finally had a chance to say, let's talk about set pieces in a positive way. Which again, I thought yesterday, you take that one, you subtract that one. They were poor, particularly at 2-1 down. You got a couple of free kicks around the edge of the 18-yard box. You're just pining for a Darren Curry, because they're moments in games that can turn. As Broadhead did, 2 years ago. Got us back from 2-0 down. 2-1 from a free kick, and the rest is.
Never seen that again. Never seen that again.
The rest is history. And he was actually practicing yesterday before the game. He was practicing sort of free kicks from around the 18-yard box. Yeah, but he wasn't on the pitch at that point to sort of do anything, and it hits the wall. And I just thought disappointing yesterday from our set pieces. But the midfield too were a positive. Probably be Morsey and Taylor for Manchester United. You'd feel, based on the fact that the other two probably won't make it, but the injuries are a concern. And we were talking about Jens Kajis in the sense of, I know there's perhaps an obligation. It's a grey area. No one really knows what the deal is.
No.
But we're talking about Jens Kajis last night, weren't we, about bringing him back, or would you sign him if he wasn't going to come here? Where would he go? And obviously the deal to Brentford fell down for whatever reason. I think it was at the medical stage. I'm not quite sure. Don't hold me on that. He's had a couple of injuries this year, hasn't completed many 90s. That might be a reason why you perhaps do get him in the Championship next year.
Yeah, I think when we said Wednesday, I think he could look well class in the Championship if they can fix his fitness. This is the huge issue. I mean, like you say, he's not done the 90 minutes this season, albeit he's been subbed in the 90th minute in 2 games. I think it was Spurs away and Brentford, we said, when we looked at the stats. But yeah, I mean, I'd take him into the Championship. I mean, we are going to be in the Championship next season. I mean, anyone who thinks this club's staying up, right? And we'll come to that in just a second. But I certainly think you could get him for a decent fee. I think Napoli actually paid 10 million to bring him into the Italian league. So I would say that probably you could get, given that there's been a question mark over his fitness all season, and other clubs will be watching that and will think, there's probably better options there, which is probably would be my take if we were to stay up. In the unlikely scenario, Martin, we stay up in the Premier League, would probably be my take on it. But well, yeah, hope springs eternal. But going back into the Championship, probably would look at him. I think he would look superb at that level.
And I think because of the fitness question marks, there are a limited number of teams that you could sort of ideally slot him into squad-wise. Perhaps one of the 3 promoted sides would see his body of work this year and think they can, as you've said, improve his fitness. And may take an opportunity on him. Maybe a team on the continent or in Scotland, maybe one of the top 2 teams in Scotland, perhaps view what he's done this year and think they can do a deal there. But outside of that, I mean, it is very limited in terms of the number of teams. That's perhaps why you may get the opportunity to watch Jens Kajis next year if you are in the Championship, which I don't think I'm not going to definitely say right now we're relegated, Matt. There's a lot of football. There's a lot of twists. There's a lot of turns. Football is not. It's not straightforward. We know that. It's almost feels like a Hollywood movie scene at times. 5 points feels a lot right now, but this time next week it could not feel a lot. And there's just twists and turns. I just feel like it's not done and dusted. It isn't going to be straightforward from this point until May. I just feel it. I just don't think it will be.
You're not normally this positive about stuff. Where's this coming from?
I've got no idea, to be honest with you. It's just something I look. I found yesterday really hard because it wasn't a 4-1 defeat, but it was a 4-1 defeat. I thought we played really well in big periods of the game against a good side. I know they've had a lot of critics, and a poor run of form, but they are still very good players, and we saw it yesterday at key moments.
Yeah, their fans are dramatic, as I've said before. I mean, they all thought they was in a relegation battle. They never were. They're doing well in the Europa League. Going to be one of the favourites potentially to win that competition.
They are one of the favourites, according to the bookies. I think I said online this morning.
Yeah, so I think probably some Ipswich fans probably got blindsided by that a little bit and thought, oh well, we beat them at their ground. They're underachieving. Their fans think they're a crap. We can probably beat them. I mean, my take on this is, of course, you'll remember, I think going back to the halfway point of the season where I was like, if we can replicate an underperforming West Ham first half of the season in the second half of the season, we've got a really good chance of staying up. And the first 3 games I had of us winning were Brighton, Southampton, Spurs. And we've got exactly 0 points from those 3 games. Look, we've won 3 games all season. And now you're asking us to to surpass Wolves, who've now got a 6-point lead, given the goal difference, in 12 remaining matches.
Look, it's going to take a big job. It's going to take a massive, gigantic effort. But football's not straightforward, man. That's the thing I'm clinging to, and I'm clinging to.
Where's the back-to-back wins going to come? Are you going to get a win at Old Trafford? Well, stranger things have happened.
And it also feels like we've been here before. I said on last night's show, we walked out of the Southampton game, and we all felt it was over. And then suddenly we walked into yesterday's game off the back of a really spirited 1-1 draw away at Aston Villa. Like, hang on, it's only 2 points. It's still operation on. And Man United can be a very good team, but they equally can be a very bad team. Now, which team you get on Wednesday, remains to be seen. But you get a positive result at Old Trafford, and Wolves don't beat Fulham at home. Suddenly, we're sitting here on Thursday saying, okay, we're back to 2 points. We're playing Wolves. It's back in our hands, as it were. As Ashton and McKenna said, be together. Don't give up the hope. Maybe I'm buying the Ashton and McKenna Kool-Aid in that unity. Maybe I've bought it, got a receipt for it, and I'm going to drink it. But
fair enough.
Don't give up on it. Is what I'm saying.
I think you're sleeping on Man United. I mean, they're 2-0 down yesterday and dead and buried at Goodison. Get it back to 2-2. Now they'll be looking at Ipswich thinking, hold on a minute, we've been getting shit off everyone this season. And Amorim has hardly pulled up any trees yet, has he? Obviously, with his first game was at Pullman Road. They'll be now looking at Ipswich just thinking, right, this is 4 points from 2 games potentially. Now we can finish the season strongly. That's probably the scenario that's going to play out, I think. But hopefully we'll go up there and give ourselves a good account. I mean, Wolsey and Taylor, we said Wednesday, they played the only duo time that duo have played together was against Bournemouth at home. Really should have had a win. But again, what happens? Defensive frailties come back.
Exactly. Yeah, I do agree. I'm just going to drop a link for anyone who wants to come on and have their say. We're going to do a slightly shorter show than normal. So first come, first serve. While we're doing that, Michael says, Gov, you must have known Duncan from his association with Alex Griffin. As you said, he knows it's not that far from you, but you've never spoken before. Nope, never spoken to him before. Didn't know his name. Only ever said hello as he squeezes past. How did you manage to get on your pod? Well, he was there, wasn't he, Matt? He was just he was there watching. He was there watching.
He had no idea who we were. Look at him saying to Colin, what show is this?
I'm fine with that. But yeah, he just came over. Now I know his name. And I have to be honest with other people's content, unless it comes up on my timeline, aka TikTok, I ain't got time to go searching for people's content. No, and I'm not just being disparaging or saying that, it's not something I enjoy. It's just I ain't got time for it, Matt. There's so much content that you could watch. And also, just so everyone knows, it takes quite a lot for us to put these shows together as a duo. It certainly does. Yeah. It does. And I like to, you know what? It's quite strange because once I've done these shows, I sort of disengage a little bit. I go on Discord and I talk about Ipswich Town on there. I disengage. I watch other things. I do other things, and like my birds, my buddies.
I mean that's another thing, isn't it? You get a lot of people like going on forums and things and talking about Ipswich and stuff and getting really.
Don't go on forums. Don't go on forums.
Getting down with the results and everything. I mean, I used to be a lot more like that when I was in my 20s, really, where the club is more of, the fabric of your life, really. And then as you get older, you have family and what have you, and people you went to football with are no longer watching them with you because they passed away and various different things. So the dynamic changes a little bit more. So, I mean, you just got to just try and remain chilled. Look, what did Oasis sing on Morning Glory? Don't put your life in the hands of a rock and roll band. Don't put your life in the hands of Ipswich Town. It's good to disengage, I think. Otherwise, it becomes too much and overwhelming, and then you get disappointed.
Mike D, 31.58% of the season left, Gov, need to start winning. Well, that I can agree with. Yeah, if there's any way possible, we're going to have to start winning. Right, Fisherman, come on then. The chat wanted you. The chat demanded you.
Here he comes.
What have you got to say this afternoon?
Hi, Mike. Hi,
I've obviously been chatting in Discord. I've been chatting with friends, chatting with family, and I've staggered at some of the comments. Look, Kieran McKenna, I said weeks and weeks ago that he's out of his depth. And that's not necessarily a negative thing, but it means...
We've lost the Fisherman.
We've lost him. Mike, you've lost your sound, mate. What is going on there? What is going on there? Let's try and bring him back again. Mike, are you there? No, he's not there. There we go. All right. Well, you can't say I didn't bring him on. You can't say I didn't bring him on. People at home cannot say I ignored the pleas for the Fisherman from the chat. You saw him. He was there.
He was there. We apologise for the technical difficulties. It's like sometimes you lose the feed at the football, don't you? On Sky or something. Comes up a little card.
It's not our technical difficulties.
Well, that's true. Yeah, look at us. We've got the Dagenham Dave internet here. It's working fine.
He's come back and he's changed his name to McKenna on thin ice.
Oh.
Yeah, that's last week. So I've switched phones. I don't know what's happened there.
Sorry, welcome back. What are your thoughts?
Look, I think there's, right. For me, bringing in 15 players of quantity when we should have brought 6 players of quality is probably something we should have done. I said it right at the start. I was a bit concerned about how many players we're bringing in. We've got no real quality. Like, so yesterday's 2 goals, the first 2 goals, right? So we've got the second one, Johnson, right? Literally stood in the area with 5 yards free with no one picking him up. Right, our defensive line was straight, and what should have happened was one of our midfielders should have picked him up, and no one did. It's been a consistent thing for me. Our midfield is so weak this season. We have no real legs in the midfield, no real what I call defensive midfielders doing their job. And that's been a theme probably even in the Championship with our goals conceded, even in the League One with our goals conceded. Yes, we were banging in goals left, right, and centre, but we cannot concede that amount of goals in the Premier League, and the way we're conceding is embarrassing. And again, McKenna changing the team again. Just bring Wolfenden back in. Keep the team you had. We are the only player that came off last against Villa that needed, obviously had no choice to be dropped, was obviously Transabi. So bring Wolfenden in. Leave Townsend on the left, because I don't think Davies has particularly pulled up trees recently. And our home form is dreadful. I just feel that if we don't look, people keep saying, "Oh, right, we're gonna go to the Championship." I'm resigned to the fact we're going down. Anybody thinks that we're going to survive this is mad. Give your head a wobble, just for 80. We ain't surviving this. We're going down, and we're 5 points less than what Luton had this time last season. Let that sink in. And we're supposed to be having the best young manager in the league, having spent over £140 million on maybes and possibilities. There's only 2 players, I would say, that's probably come out with any credit this season. Well, Delat being one of them, absolutely. Do you know what I mean? And I kind of think O'Shea's done all right recently. And although I didn't think he was great to start with, but, Greaves for me. Defending was woeful. Godfrey, my God. I've had some stick from Norwich fans over him, I'm telling you. And, it was yesterday's defending was woeful. And people say, "Oh, yeah, well, we played well at times." Well, we're trying to play. So when we were in League One in the Championship, we had teams try and play our style, play against us, and we cut them to shreds. We're still doing that, and we're trying to do that now in the Premier League against sides that are miles better than us at times, and we're being cut to shreds. People say, "Oh, 4-1 doesn't reflect the game." Yes, it does. We lost 4-1. Records will say we lost 4-1. Doesn't matter how well we might have played in bits in that game. We lost 4-1. And a lot of our problem is down to our midfield and the team being changed. Substitutes being too late. I had someone say to me earlier, right, the lap, can give you what, 70, 80 minutes and then he's knackered. He's 21 years old. He should be able to play 2 games a week doing 90 minutes plus. I don't care what level you're playing at. You should be able to do that. There was so basically what he said. What was said was, why didn't we bring Hurst on? We needed goals. Why didn't we bring Hurst on and move the lap over to the right, where he did play at Hull?
Or it might sound really, really like I'm suddenly Neil Warnock. You could play just 2 up front together and without moving anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, it's radical. It's radical.
It's so dinosaur.
It really is. But you could. They did it in the past. They had some success with it.
Did you know what? You're absolute. No, look. People are obsessed with our style of play. Are obsessed with the modern game. With you have to play a certain way to get the best out of players. Rubbish. Players just want to win games most of the time.
True.
They want to win games. They don't want to go out there every time and lose 5-0, 4-0, 4-1. I mean, the amount of goals we've conceded recently, my God, I don't think even a plumber could fix the leaks that we're doing right now. Let alone McKenna. And I know McKenna gets a free hit this season. And that's the bottom line. He does get a free hit. I just don't think he's been a very good manager this season. I genuinely don't. I think he's made far too many changes in the teams. We're not playing in Europe. We're playing less games than we did in the Championship. We're playing less games than we did in League One.
True. Yeah, true.
Right. So why keep changing the team? Absolutely, it's embarrassing. We've got players. Look, I've got to call Burgess Lovechild. We've got Burgess, who's played well, has a really good game, gets dropped for no reason whatsoever. Do you know what I mean?
You keep bringing up Burgess, but
you got Muric as well. I mean, no disrespect, right? But he has been one of our worst signings this season, and yet it took right until January before we take him out and give Walton a try. What if we'd have played him 3 months? 3 months, say, I don't know, beginning of November. We might be sitting here discussing a different story. We may not be. But if Burgess is playing well and gets dropped, and Muric is playing crap and doesn't get dropped, what does that tell you about the manager? It tells you he's got no bloody clue.
When was Walton dropped, Matt? Muric dropped, Matt? I thought that was a bit earlier than
the Chelsea game, wasn't it? So that was right on. Mike's right. It was like December the 30th or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. You've got a player not playing well and not performing.
Yeah, you've got to show faith in a player that you just brought in, though, Mike. You've got to back your player. You've got to show faith.
But this is the old story. We paid £15 million, so he's got to play. Or we paid £20 million, so he's got to play. Bollocks. You play your best team, and you stick with it. Your fringe players are there. Your impact players. They're called impact players, not substitutes. You should know that. Yeah. They're impact players now, right? Are sat on the bench. Right, they're supposed to come on, make an impact. Well, how are they going to do that when you make a substitution at 89 minutes?
Well, that's true. That is true. But not all his substitutions are on 89 minutes, though, are they?
No, that was first time yesterday, Godfrey. I mean, he should never have started in the bloody first place. You just started the team against. He started with Villa at Bar and just played Walton.
Maybe again, I think the game plan in terms of how we protected him was really the problem, not the player himself. You talk about Burgess all the time, and people have started calling you the Burgess Lovechild because you do consistently bang that drum. I've got a question for you, Mike. When did we sign Alejandro Nesta? When was that? Because the way you speak about Burgess, he's done well this year, but he isn't Alejandro Nesta. There isn't that much of a difference between Greaves and Burgess. Greaves is the younger player.
There is. There's cohesion.
There's not.
Martin, there's cohesion between him and Davis. They know each other. There's cohesion. You can't put a price on cohesion. You can't put a price on team players knowing each other. You can't put a price on that. And if Burgess was being dropped for mistakes, I could get it. But he isn't. You got Davis, you got Morsey in the midfield. Burgess knows these players. He's played with them for the last 2 years. And all I've had the last 2 years, Burgess is not good enough for the Championship. Proved them wrong. Burgess not good enough for the Premier League. Again, that's utter rubbish. Look, it's not just Burgess, but you know, the end of the day is we came up probably a season too early. I get that. I can accept that as much as I hate to admit that. I can accept that. But the reality is you don't drop players for playing well. You keep them players on until they don't play well because they know each other. The reason why we got promoted to the Premier League in the first place and out of League One is because we had a team. What we have now is 27, 28 individuals trying to play as a team with a manager who doesn't know his best 11 by the end of February.
But it's a squad game in 2025, Mike. It's not about the 11.
No. Oh, hang on a second. Group. That's what you said in 2023. We ended up sticking with the same team. You said that in 2023. Sticking with the same team. You said the same thing in 2024. Look, but we stuck with the same team, and look where it got us. We're not playing in Europe. I get that if we are in Europe, then we're going to need a rotation.
No,
but joking, no disrespect. We are not playing in Europe. We're looking to survive, playing less games than we did in the Championship and League One, and yet we're constantly changing the team. McKenna is clueless. He's utterly clueless.
I disagree that he's clueless. I joke about.
Well, it has to be. Otherwise, why do it?
I joke about the group, but you are right. We do need more consistency. You are bang on about we should have, and we do need more consistency in team selection. I joke about the group, but we do. You are right on that one. I would love somebody who is into their numbers, into their stats, and just to go back through the season and see how many times changes were made due to forced changes and how many weren't. Because obviously you can grab a number and say we've changed the team 78 times or whatever it is, right?
I think it's 78 different players this season, and every pundit
were forced. Like yesterday, for example, 2 forced changes in Ciso and Axel, but he made 4 changes. So that would be 2 that unnecessarily forced changes. I'd love to know the number between it. As in what is.
See, I can understand again, you can understand it. You get Hurst injury, you got to bring in another player. You get Phillips injury, Caduce injury, two in a game. You bring a player in. You get an injury. But we made 4 changes. We didn't need to. We could have just made 1.
Well, you need to make 2, didn't you? Because obviously, Ciso started at Villa, went off injured, and Axel. You had to make 2 regardless. But you are right. We do need that more consistency. But Mike, you've, as always with you, you split the conversation right down the middle. Some agree. Some are saying give your head a wobble. And others are just enjoying watching somebody vent their emotion, I think. Because
I've resided to the FAC Championship now next season. But we've got to be careful. We can't have this arrogant attitude, we're going to jump straight back up. Because no one has any God-given right to get out of the Championship. And we've seen teams go down, right, and struggle. I mean, Watford had a hell of a team and ended up struggling to stay up. They've been middle table, even our local rivals have had good players and they've struggled to get out of the league themselves. So there's no God-given right. And this season, McKenna gets a free hit. Next season, he has to get promoted. Otherwise, it's please go. Because I'd rather have a manager with a bit more experience. Because at this moment in time, he's living on 2 promotions. That's why he gets so much.
He's living on 2 promotions.
He's living on 2 promotions because he's done nothing in the Premier League.
Paul Lambert lived on a fight at Carrow Road for about 6 months. So,
even Paul Lambert did better than McKenna's stats in the Premier League.
Oh, right. Now we have really.
No. They completely
back.
Mine. I'm afraid, mate. Look, your love child Paul Lambert did better than McKenna in the Premier League. You were the one that kept throwing up the poster. It's just time for some revenge.
Absolutely, Mike. We've truly jumped the shark here, and I can't believe it's been brought up. But there we go, Mike. We appreciate you coming on as always.
Love to you, boys. I've got to go out now anyway. All the best, yeah. Take care, lads.
I disagree so much with what he said about McKenna being clueless and living off 2 promotions like it's absolutely nothing. But that's the beauty of Talking Town. You're allowed to come on the show, have your say, give your opinion. We'll debate it with you. The chat will let you know.
And Mike does have an opinion.
Yeah, and I could disagree more with what he said about McKenna being clueless. But what he did say also leads into a question we got from our Discord, and this is something we're going to do more regularly every week. Give our Discord members, which you can come to £4.99. Cancel at any point. You get access to the Discord. But we're going to give you chances to really put some comments before the show, and we can try and build something from it. And Mike D, not Mike the Fishman. This is Mike D now. I would never go. I won't grab a fisherman comment. I don't know if we could read it. Listening to something on train back, Mills made a remark I wanted to bring up. He said he felt we went for a number rather than quality, saying we should have tried for 5 players of a higher quality. Would you agree, or are you happy with the amount of players we brought in? Do you think it's destabilized? That's a big word for Sunday, Mike. Destabilized us this season. What do you think? I'll give my thoughts in a minute.
Mike the Fisherman said that right at the very off, didn't he? He agreed to that, and I said there, Mick Mills had referenced that yesterday. I mean, it's an interesting point, isn't it? Would the fan base have accepted such little change to the squad? I mean, look, we were discussing here whether or not that we'd achieved so much so quickly. Would they be able to transition from Football League players into Premier League players? I mean, I think they would have been, and had they done that and just brought in half a dozen, less than that, 5, 4, 5, 6, wherever it might be, I think they'd have been open to criticism from the fan base that they weren't giving it a chance. And Ashton did say we're going to try and attack the Premier League, didn't he? So you're damned if you do and damned if you don't, really. Because we've spent 120, I don't think it's quite as much as what Mike said, 140. I think it's not far off that, I think, but about 120, say 120 million.
We spent triple digits, let's put it that way. We spent big money. And we're still in the relegation zone. That says much more, I think, about the gulf between the Football League and the Premier League than it actually does about Ipswich's ambition or whether or not they've made the right, brought in the right kind of players, I think. I mean, for the second season running, you're going to get the promoted 3 go down again, is where is Essentially.
That's more of a damning insight on how the Premier League is set up and run and everything, I think, really.
See, I'm of the other opinion. I do critique it and I do criticize it at different points, but overall, it's very clear to me that they've stuck to a plan, that they've got a 3, maybe a 3 to 5 year, maybe a 2 year, whatever the length of time you want to put onto it. Let's just say 3 to 5 because it's an easier bit to perhaps get. But I think they've stuck to a plan of what they, we've had back-to-back promotions, which I think no plan when you take over a football club in League One ever has built into it. You don't ever sit down and say, right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to sit down, go back-to-back promotions, be in the Premier League, and away we go. But we did. We got promoted perhaps earlier than any plan they had could have foreseen. And so as a result, everything of the football club is behind the sticks, as it were. It's behind in terms of on the field. It's behind in terms of infrastructure off the field. It's everything has to play massive amounts of catch-up. And what they've done, from what I can see and what I think, is they've stuck to their plan. They've brought players in that are going to be so much better this time next year, the year after. They haven't gone for journeymen. They haven't gone for 33-year-olds coming here for whatever reason and try to sort of plug the gaps, if you were, and then where are you this time? If you do survive, yes, you're a little bit richer, but you've still got all those gaps to fill. You've got players that are another year older. Whereas they've stuck to their guns. They've stuck to their game plan of we're going to bring players in who are hungry, big development, and if they hit the ground running, brilliant. But if they don't, they're going to be better this time next year, more value, etc., etc. And that is big. You can't underestimate how much of a big value or how much of a big sell-on value that you need as a club of our size competing in the Premier League when you get back, or whether you drop down and you want to try and sell perhaps the lap, for example, for big money to bring in 2 midfield players or whatever. And you could say to the cows come home, whichever plan is the right plan. But I just feel, looking at the players they brought in, that was their plan. That's their recruitment strategy. And I can't fault it purely, Matt, on the fact we are in it. It's so frustrating how close we are. That's the real frustrating part. Yes, you're getting beat 4-1. All right, fine. But you're in the game for a lot of periods. You go to Villa Park, you take the lead, you're 10 men. You gave them a really good game. You gave them a really good game at home. There's been more times than not this year where you really feel like Town are so close to being just the right side of the margin, getting the rub of the green, being good enough. But they've built this, as Ashton would say, mid-flight. And that's got to be a huge amount of credit to the recruitment team, to McKenna, to Ashton. And I think it hurts more because you are so close. If you were walking out of every game being beaten 4-1, 3-0, and you weren't close, okay, you say, we're not good enough, we'll give it another crack. It's the fact that you are so close in so many games that it hits you a little bit more. Could they have done things differently? Because we're so close. But we're in a great position. We're in a great position. The league table isn't a great position, but the club, the health of the club, the green shoots, as somebody once said, it's there. It's really there.
Green shoots. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't help. We've given Southampton's 9 points. We've given them 4 of them. If we actually
That doesn't help. No.
If we actually had those 4 points ourselves, we'd still be in the fight with Wolves. We wouldn't be kind of stranded in the bottom 3 particularly. Yeah, I do. I mean, look, whilst it's doom and gloom over losing our Premier League status more than likely, I think we're set up fantastically well. I mean, we've said on the show, it's a travesty for Ipswich to go down, really, because it's so well run. And they've got, despite the limitations that we've seen of McKenna this season, again, I'll go back to the point that this is his 3rd full season. It happens to be in the Premier League. So he has got a bit of and I think I even said myself in the summer, I agree with Mike there, I kind of gave him a free hit myself. It's only when you get into the cut and thrust of the Premier League and, like you say, so close to being able to maybe do another season in now, that it gets very frustrating. But, we're not a Luton, we're not a Watford. We're fantastically well run. We've got a great ownership model. Like you say, we've bought so that the club isn't going to be too impacted in a relegation, and you'll probably sell Delap. Question mark over Davis. I mean, with the limitations around his defensive frailties, he could still well be here next season, unless someone he goes back to Leeds, for example. They might look and say, well, we'll bring him in now that he's done a Premier League season. So so Delap and Davis could be the 2. But like you say, you're going to get massive money for them. You get the parachute payment going down, which we never had when we was originally relegated from the Premier League and end up going into administration. Yeah. So look, that's the other side of the coin. 20 years ago, it was in a terrible space. Not this time. We'll be competing for the title next season in the Football League. No doubt about it for me.
I agree.
The big question mark. Yeah. The big question mark though, Martin, really, is when you come down to the manager. Because as we say, everyone around us has got rid of their manager. It hasn't worked for Southampton. They're still at the bottom. It's worked massively for Everton. They're now in mid-table.
But they had a squad that it would work for.
Yeah,
that was
agreed.
A squad underperforming, wasn't it?
Yeah, and no Ipswich fan wants Kieran McKenna to be. Well, the majority of Ipswich fans don't want McKenna to leave. So you don't get that managerial bounce of us. But by the same token, what is his ambition once the season is over? Is he staying at Ipswich Town for next season, or is he departing? Because it takes a lot of process to get the right person in to hit the ground running to start hopefully a title winning campaign in the Championship next season. And at the end of the day, we're not really as much as we like him, we're not in the Kieran McKenna business. We're in the Ipswich Town business, because we're going to be, once Kieran's gone off and doing stuff at other clubs in years to come, we'll still be going to Portman Road. We was there 20 years ago. We'll be there in 20 years time, regardless really, whatever division we're in, the fan base remains loyal. So that would be my big question coming out as we come down to the end of the season is, he nearly left in the summer. Is he leaving this summer?
But this is it. And that's the conversation for the summer. I don't know if he will leave. It's one of those, it's a lot like Leif Davis in the sense of, has he done enough to show that he could perhaps take charge of a Premier League team that loses their manager? That's like a Brentford, for example. I certainly can't see him going to Bayern Munich like Vincent Kompany did. But there was a lot of people always quote that one. There's loads of variables around that Vincent Kompany went there. First of all, he played in Germany. He speaks German. Yeah. He had Pep Guardiola doing his bidding at a club Pep had managed and had great success at. So that was quite different. And I'm sure the plan really is for Kompany to take over from Guardiola at Manchester City moving forward. But that's a slightly different one, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, there was just so many question marks around Kieran, and he nearly did go. And the fan base have remained and the ownership have remained loyal to him this season. I'd love to know what his ambition is, because to get the highest level. That's the ambition of any manager, from Paul Lambert.
But would he say to himself, well, I got the double promotion, now I've got a relegation on my CV. Is he going to be sticking around? He got the new contract last summer. He got the new contract. Is he eyeing, I don't know, going back to Brighton if they got rid of Hertzler, for example, or does Thomas Frank move on to Tottenham, or whatever might happen, and he goes to Brentford or whatever? It's the dominoes effect, isn't it?
It's the variables of football which you can never account for. You can run as many simulations as you want, like like you do with investments, etc. But the variables of football are so wide and so different that it's really difficult to say what can happen, how it can happen, etc. But I just go back to the 3 to 5 year plan that I mentioned in terms of the recruitment. And I said in the summer, Matt, how do you approach this season? Do you approach it in the sense of you're going to come, almost play weakest link, cash the money, build a squad, drop that down, with the aims of every time you bounce back, you come back stronger and stronger with less holes and less gaps and less needs, till eventually you land and you can be a solid Premier League team from the get-go, or do you come into the season and go, right, we're going to sort of chuck money around, sign as many Premier League proven players as we can with stats and skin in the game, and try and stay up and then look to see what needs doing in the summer. And I think the club went for my option, if you like, of coming up, building a squad, cash the money,
looks that way.
spend the money that you would spend in the Championship, or etc. etc. If you wrote down the team, and I know football's not played on paper, but the squad is a Championship all-stars. You got Smolix, champ top goal scorer, Jack Clarke, who was far too good for that league and is growing at this level, but is perhaps still not a Premier League player. Jaden Philogene, who was having fun in the Championship for Hull.
He was.
You've got, that's 3 players right there. You've got Benny, who Alex Palmer, clean sheet king for West Brom. Jacob Greaves, who again, like Jack Clarke, was very good in the Championship, perhaps too good for the Championship, is still developing his game at the Premier League level. And you look at the team, and I know people get a little bit, who's going to go? If you write down the people you think may leave, it's not a huge number. You've got a few players like Amari. Would a club look at him and say there's great potential there that's worth 20 million, 25 million? Or would they think, perhaps another year in the Championship, we can revisit that next year when we've seen another year of development, etc. Only Delap for me at the moment is an absolute nailed-on guarantee to leave. And I think that's whether you're in the Premier League or not, personally.
Yeah, I agree with that. Also, obviously, you're going to have to fill the gaps of the loan players going back. So, Enciso, Phillips, Godfrey, etc. Twanzabi's out of contract. He might want to stay in the Premier League or move on somewhere else.
But very much like Kayust, injury concerns again may because that's the reason why he came in the first place. He was on trial at Luton, didn't get a deal, or didn't sign a contract for whatever reason. Nobody else apparently was interested. Came here, had a great year, built himself back up. Now this year, back at the elite level. I know one of those injuries wasn't his fault. Well, it was. He was washing up, but was a freak accident, if you like.
He was.
And he's still the reason why I don't wash up. He's still the reason why I can't.
It's a good enough reason. It's a good enough reason, Martin. Frankly,
I look at knives and glasses in the sink now at a whole different level. They scare me.
Context has changed. Yeah.
I like my thumbs. It just scares me. So thank you. I thank you for me not washing up there, because that's. I'm not. Don't touch it. No, it's not for me. But there we go. But yeah, I just don't know where we're going to go. I think we're going to start. I think there's a chance we could still stay up. I don't think we will. I think there's a chance. And while there's a chance, you should keep the belief, right?
Well, knowing Ipswich, will probably give you a moment, like win at Old Trafford or something, to renew hope, I think. But I mean, the fact that we've just won 3 out of 26, to think that we're going to put together a run in the final 12 just seems to be pie in the sky thinking to me. Well, I mean, look, we're actually tracking to concede 78 goals this season, which is exactly what Burnley went down with last season. And on 24 points, I think they got relegated with. But look, we talk about teams going down and everything. Look, Sheffield United conceded over 100 goals in the Premier League last season. And look at them now. I think they're, second, third in the Championship. So, they've transitioned back into the Football League quite comfortably, really, and in a title race with Leeds. So I'd certainly expect us. But there's just a question mark over who would be the manager if we go down, because we don't know whether or not McKenna, whether or not an option comes in that allows Kieran to leave. I don't think there's going to be that many jobs available, other than maybe if Spurs don't win the Europa League, for example, and Postecoglou gets the elbow there, then that might free up a Thomas Frank or someone going there. And then, like we said earlier, then you've got the dominoes effect of positions that need to be filled. But, there was a lot more options, wasn't there, in the summer just gone? When he nearly went. And then we'd have to think about who would come in. I mean, look, Liam Manning's doing fantastically well at Bristol City. Danny Rowe's always got mentioned. Might be a good fit. I mean, you'd like to think it'd be someone of the similar McKenna style ilk, couldn't it? Maybe someone from the continent. Never actually, outside of Ireland, we've never actually had an overseas manager, if we say.
You've got two managers in France that are doing well, particularly Liam Rosenior. He's doing
Strasbourg.
Really well there.
We've always liked him anyway, haven't we? With that whole team. We thought he was really good. So, I mean, there'd be lots of options there. And Ipswich is an attractive job. I mean, you talk about, working with Mark Ashton, the ownership, the money that's available, the parachute payments. I mean, people will be queuing up for that if the role is to come.
Do you think Celtic could be a team to watch from McKenna?
Maybe. Yeah, potentially.
There's always chatter about that management position becoming available. Yeah. Obviously, they're the biggest, one of the biggest teams in Scotland. Champions League, they can so this week to knocking out Bayern Munich. But could that be a possibility of a job? Or is that more? I don't mean disparaging towards the Scottish League, but would that be more seen as not the pathway you want to go towards being a Man United manager, Man City manager?
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, like you say, it's not a particularly competitive league, is it? I was chatting to Colin about this in the week. I mean, no one outside of Rangers or Celtic have won the top flight since Aberdeen under Ferguson in 84? 40 years ago. But yes, it gets you into the Champions League and on that platform, doesn't it? So yeah, maybe. It's never done Brendan Rodgers any harm, is it? Particularly. No. But very interesting. But my interest really is who would take over at Town if it was to happen. But I would say that's a conversation to be had sooner rather than later, because you want to give whoever would come in if Kieran does go the entire summer to get the players in that he wants, given that you're going to have the parachute payments and. June 30th, I think, is when all contracts come to a close, isn't it? Like, for example, Twanzebe or the loan players go back, etc., etc., etc.
Well, there'll be a plan. As Mike Baker says in the chat, Mark Ashton will already have names on a sheet just in case there's no flies on that guy. There isn't.
Oh, God, yeah, absolutely. I mean, he said he had McKenna scouted out 2 years previous to wherever it was, wasn't it? So, yeah, absolutely.
Should have brought him in.
What did you before we go? Well, you were very critical of the ref yesterday, and watching the game back on Match of the Day last night. The lino on the head clash between Dane Scarlett. Dane Scarlett made me chuckle when he come on.
You got an assist.
yeah. When he come on, yeah. The lino was looking straight at that flicked header he does, which goes straight into Greaves' forehead. That should have been brought back. Why that wasn't brought back, God only knows.
We nearly made it through a show that referee and Rob Holmes. My apologies. Your comment in the Discord won't get on this show, but maybe I'll bring it onto the match preview show. But yes, in terms of the referee, I just thought it was very poor performance.
Well, I was looking straight at it, and he's got the fourth official on his left shoulder.
Yeah, I said that on that show. Yeah, not just him, as an officiating group, really poor. You don't know the situation. There's a player holding his head directly in front of the bench, so the fourth official is there, right?
Standard of refereeing in this country, in the top flight, or even in the football league, he's not very good. As you know, mine, I watch loads of continental stuff, Bundesliga, La Liga, far better. The referees in Europe are far, far better than anything you see in the Premier League. So much better. There's no ever discussions in, after an Eintracht Frankfurt game, for example, where everyone's saying, the referee was this, that, the other. They don't have these conversations. The standard of it is far better. I think you actually see that in the European games as well, be it from the Champions League down to the Europa League. Much better.
You certainly see it or you tend to see it, in the Champions League, the difference of officiating and the quality. And there is a conversation to be had there, footballing widely in this country about the quality or how we're developing our referees and what that direction needs to look like.
I agree.
But yesterday, it's just back to consistency of decisions. So I think Danzo went down in their box holding his head. The ball was going out for a Town throw. He stopped the game. Player was holding his head. Ended up being a drop ball to Tottenham, when it would have been our throw in an attacking area. And then shortly while later, yes, it's not affecting the game, but your player's gone down holding his head in front of three officiating members. They all talk to each other on their headsets these days. Yeah. It isn't like the old days where you got a flag or whatever. They all talk to each other consistently and constantly. Yeah. That game's got to be stopped. It's got to be stopped. Because even Dane Scarlett's holding his head as well. And it doesn't go down. Yeah. But if we're going to prioritise head injuries, you can't prioritise head injuries at certain times. It's got to be all the time.
It was right in front of the fourth official and the lino, and the referee isn't that far away from it either. Yeah, so it was just ludicrous, really. But
and there's one incident in front of me when Amari gets absolutely wiped out. It's one of the funniest things. I've just stuck a Werther's original in my mouth, right? Literally just stuck it in my mouth, and I'm just about to start enjoying this Werther's original, and Amari gets absolutely wiped out, and I launch out of my seat. I don't know where. I don't know where it went. It went somewhere.
Hit Duncan, probably.
It was in my mouth as I went up and went, "What the?" And then when I sat back down, it wasn't in my mouth. So
you realised someone got home last night. I thought, I've got a Werther's original stuck in me hood of me jacket.
It was just the emotion because it was 2-1 and it wasn't given. It wasn't given. And I was absolutely outraged. Not often I get outraged. It's going to be
if we go down, it's going to be the same in the Football League. You just won't have VAR. I think. Not bringing it in on next season, I think.
probably are. But anyway, we're done for the day. We're back during the week. Obviously, a big week coming up. So lots of content flying out of Talking Town. Thank you for being with us this afternoon. Thank you for watching on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. Just Elon Musk's social media platform. I don't know. You call it whatever you want. But thanks for watching. Thanks for watching on YouTube. As always, like, subscribe, join the conversation over on Discord. As I said earlier, you can join by hitting the join button on YouTube. And don't forget, Stowmarket Osteopaths. I'm there tomorrow. Can't wait. Give Freddie a call. Don't live life in pain. 01449 613 633. That's Stowmarket Osteopaths. 01449 613 633. Chris said, Mike Dean, a VAR ref on Sky Sports, said it was a penalty. I saw this. Yeah, he said it was a penalty, and then the ref covering the VAR said there was no penalty. So it was just totally inconsistent. It just shows.
It's just ludicrous. What did Da Vinci say? What was it? Simplicity is the ultimate form of sophistication. Everything is just now overly complicated, isn't it? And overthought. Yeah.
Yeah. Unless it feels like unless it involves Ipswich, then it's just who's it for? Oh,
yeah.
That's not going to happen, is it? It's not, certainly not. As you said earlier in the week, we've not had a red card go for us this year at all. Not that there has been many situations where you feel like a red card should have gone for you, but you know,
typical Ipswich luck. But the only red card we've had was given in the tunnel at Molineux, wasn't it? After the game, and Wolves have had. Yes, I mean, yeah, exactly. And who'd have thought it yesterday? Bournemouth throwing their first red card of the season against Wolves.
That in itself, you know. Wolves' best player. What did he serve? Was it 4?
Oh, couldn't you? It was a couple of games, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was 2 in the end, I think.
Canio got more for pushing a ref, and back in the 90s, and
he
wasn't even on a member of the of people on the field of play. It was after the game. That in itself, you've wound me up now, Matt. For fuck's sake! Right, we're gonna go, and I'm
send it there.
PLO. Thank you so much for winding me up. Thank you for being with me, and we'll see you during the week. Take care. God bless. All the best.
You make me smile when I think of you. If I